I'm Shane Shoemaker, and along with Bob Smith, we are BS Brew Works. A brew day for us, we start early in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and that process will take us through 7.5 to 8 hours of a day. Ingredients that we put in any typical beer are malted barley, sometimes wheat or flaked corn, hops, and then in the case of a specialty beer, it might get a spice or a fruit addition, sometimes not even until serving. Step one of the brewing process for us is taking the malted grains and crushing them, opening them up to expose the starches that we will be converting into sugars during the mashing process. The mash-in process consists of taking the grains that we've crushed, pouring those into the mash tun, which has been preheated with about 25 gallons of hot water. We mash with a certain ratio of water to poundage of grain, taking those starches that we've opened up into crushed malt, so that just the hot water activation of the enzymes will extract those, convert those into sugars. We're looking for a temperature range of mash rest between 148 and 157 degrees or so Fahrenheit. The mash rest typically consumes 1 hour of our brew day. The quality controls that go into the mash rest are indeed checking to see how much sugar we're extracting through that process to make sure we're going to get as much fermentable product as we want into the boil kettle. Once we're satisfied that we've gotten a full conversion, we begin a recirculation process back over the grain bed as a clarifying process. So we can see visually running that through a large glass container that's in the middle of the process called a wort grant. Recirculation typically lasts 15 to 20 minutes. Once the recirculation is done, then we start a very gentle gravity transfer from the mash tun to the boil kettle. Once that's complete, we take the spent grain and dump that into tubs, and a couple of our local cattle ranchers in the county pick those up to feed to their livestock. Once we have transferred the amount of wort we need into the boil kettle, we typically are adding hops. That's a bittering addition. Almost every beer we make will have an addition right at the front end. The boil process is a lot of sit and wait, with the exception of adding those additional hops and the chemical aids. Full boil temperature for us is around 209, 209 and a half. Once we have achieved the end of boil, then we're going to recirculate the wort for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to pump the wort through a heat exchanger so that we're taking that wort from roughly 185 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit down to 68 degrees in a single pass. We leave the boil kettle, goes through the heat exchanger, through sanitary fittings and hoses, and directly into one of our fermentation tanks. We bring the temperature down about 12 hours later to the correct fermentation temperature, which is dependent upon the yeast strain and what we're looking for in the profile of the beer. Once that happens, then we just sit and wait. A length of time from going into the fermenter until being finished, 7 to 10 days.